Histology practical epithelial tissue. The principal function of the epithelial tissue covering, lining, and protecting surface, for example, epidermis. Absorption, for example, the intestinal lining, and another function of epithelial tissue, secretion by cells of the gland. About the classification of the epithelia generally, classified into covering, glandular, and special. This lecture or this laboratory about the covering epithelium. Characteristic feature of the covering or lining epithelium consists of the cells consist of the one layer or several layers. So the cells separated and along the connective tissue by basement membrane. Another characteristic feature of the epithelium is the avascular, have no blood vessels, so they are nourished by what? By diffusion from the underlying connective tissue. If classified or classification of the covering or lining epithelium, classified according to the shape of the cell and classified according to the number or layers of the epithelial cells. This slide about the simple squamous epithelium. This slide, simple. Why simple? Because consists of the one layer. Consists of one layer. Which type of epithelium? Squamous. Why? Because the cells is squamous or flattened, thin layer. The nucleus is centrally located. Nucleus centrally located. The example or occurrence of this type of the epitheliums in the endothelium lining the blood vessel, for example, artery, vein, arteriole, small artery, endothelium. Another example, mesothelium lining the body cavities. These two examples of the simple squamous epithelium, flattened cells, centrally located nucleus. Another slide, take from which tissue? From the kidney tubule. This kidney tubule. This kidney tubule, or this tubule of the kidney, lining by what? The tubule of kidney lining by simple cuboidal epithelium. Why we call this simple? Because consists of the one layer. One layer. For this reason called the simple. Because consists of the one layer of the cell or one layer of the epithelial cell. Why we call the cuboidal? The cells width and thickness similar, or above and below the nuclei is equal, the distance below and above the nuclei, the distance in this area and the distance in this area is equal. Also in this cell, the distance below above nuclei equal. Also, look, this distance below and above nuclei is equal. For this called the cuboidal epithelium, or the cells is a cubic or square. Cubic or square. Cell width and thickness roughly similar. The shape of a nuclei is rounded, centrally located. Rounded, centrally located. One example, lining the kidney tubule. We have another example, covering the surface of the ovary. Covering what? The surface of the ovary. This surface of ovary lining or covering by what? By simple cuboidal epithelium. This lecture about this layer and below will explain later this connective tissue, but this is the epithelial tissue. Why we call simple? Because consists of the one layer. This one layer of the epithelial cells lining by one layer. Why this called the cuboidal? The cell width and thickness roughly similar, and the cells cubic square. The distance below the nuclei and above the nuclei is equal. The distance is equal below and above the nuclei. For this reason called the simple cuboidal epithelium. Example, lining the ovary. Example, ovary. Another slide, simple columnar epithelium. This tissue take from what? From the simple intestine. This slide, the intestine or the small intestine characterized by what? By finger, this finger-like projection, or called villi. This villi or leaf-like or finger-like projection. This villi or finger-like projection lining by which type of epithelium? By simple columnar epithelium. This simple columnar epithelium. This villi or finger-like projections of the small intestine lined by what? By simple columnar epithelium. This simple, observe in this area, simple, one layer of cell or simple epithelium. Why we call this simple? Because consists of the one layer of cell. From this area, this one layer of cell. One layer of cell. For this reason, called the simple epithelium. Why we call the columnar? The cells is tall. Cell is tall, columnar. And the nuclei is oval. The nuclei is oval, conform to the shape of the cell. The nuclei also is tall, oval, conform to the shape of the cell. Conform to the shape of the cell. The nuclei is oval, and also we have another characteristic feature, the nuclei basally located. If compared this slide with the simple cuboidal, the nuclei centrally located, and the shape of cell is a cubic or square, while in the columnar, the cells is tall columnar and the nuclei is oval, situated basally. So above the nuclei is clear distance area, clear area. It's a clear. The above nuclei more than the below. Above is more the distance. In this area, in this feature, we know that this type of epithelium is simple columnar. Example, take from what? From the small intestine. Why we know this type of the slight small intestine? Because have this villi. Because the slide consists of the villi lining by what? Simple columnar epithelium. Another slide, ciliated pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Ciliated pseudostratified, this also one layer. Why we called pseudo? Because consists of two layers, two type of cell. Not all cell reach the surface, but all cell adhere to the basal laminae. So not all cell reach the surface, but all cell rest on the basement or the basal layer. Consists of the two types of cell, short basal cell and tall columnar cell. This different level of nuclei, for this called the pseudostratified columnar epithelium. This cilia, and this hyaline cartilage of the trachea will explain later. Have lecture about the type of cartilage or cartilage, this hyaline cartilage. This section take from the trachea. Trachea, the example of the pseudostratified columnar epithelium, trachea. Lining or covering by what? Which type of epithelium? By pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Why called the pseudostratified? Because consists of the two type of cell, and these cells adhere to the basal line, and not all cells reach the surface, and we have different level of the nuclei. This nuclei short, tall, observe or look different level of nuclei. Why we call pseudo? Because we have different level of nuclei. This different level. Also, this ciliated pseudostratified epithelium. Pseudostratified epithelium, different level, this cilia. cilia of this pseudostratified columnar epithelium consists of the different level of the nuclei. Example, trachea. Another slide, stratified. Why we called or classified epithelium as the stratified? Because consists of the more than one layer. More than one layer. This one layer, 2, 3, 4 consists of the more than one layer. For this reason called the stratified, more than one layer. This type of epithelium, stratified squamous epithelium, non-keratinized, take the slide or section from mouth or the esophagus. The example or occurrence of this type of epithelium in the mouth or esophagus consists of 3 layers. The one layer, basal layer, and another layer is intermediate layer, superficial layer. Consists of 3 layers, basal and intermediate layer, and superficial layer. The superficial layer consists of the flattened cell. Superficial layer consists of the flattened cells with what? With the nuclei. This the characteristic feature distinguished between the keratinized and non-keratinized. Non-keratinized, the superficial layer have nuclei. Look, the superficial layer of non-keratinized consists or have the nuclei. The superficial layer of stratified squamous epithelium, non-keratinized, have nuclei. Example, mouth, esophagus, larynx, and vagina and anal canal. This about the stratified squamous epithelium, non-keratinized. Another example, slide or another slide from the stratified squamous epithelium, keratinized. Consists of 5 layers. Number 1, stratum basale. Stratum basale. This stratum spinosum, stratum granulosum, because this layer consists of the cytoplasmic of the cell consists of the granule, for this called stratum granulosum, stratum lucidum, this stratum, and finally sloughing or stratum corneum. Stratum corneum consists of the several layers of the flattened cells without a nuclei. So the cells slough from what? From this layer. Consists of the several layers without nuclei. The corneum without nuclei. So the cell slough from. For example, example of this type of epithelium, epidermis. Keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Example, epidermis. This also stratified squamous epithelium, high power of the stratified squamous epithelium, keratinized. Take from the epidermis. This one layer, stratum basale, stratum spinosum. This stratum spinosum. Stratum granulosum, very clear, stratum granulosum. This stratum granulosum, stratum lucidum, and this corneum sloughing without nuclei, These 5 layers of the stratified squamous epithelium, keratinized from the epidermis. The last or final slide from the transitional epithelium. Characteristic feature of the transitional epithelium, the cells, superficial layer, not basal layer, superficial layer has dome-like cells, sometimes called or umbrella cells or belly cells, umbrella or dome-like cells, large cell. The superficial layer is large cell. This slide, not confuse it with the simple cuboidal. Simple cuboidal consists, usually the student confuses this slide with the simple cuboidal. The simple cuboidal consists of the one layer, while transitional epithelium consists of the more than one layer. Observe the nuclei. The nuclei more than one layer of the nuclei. For this reason, we call this stratified. Consists of the more than one layer. More than one layer. While the simple cuboidal, only one layer. Only one layer. While transitional epithelium consists of the more than one layer. Let's count the nuclei. Number 1, 2, 3, 4. More than one layer of the cell. For this reason, called the stratified transitional epithelium. And the transitional epithelium, the superficial layer is large, dome-like shape or umbrella shape. The cell surface is thick also. This is another characteristic feature. The cell surface is thick. This section or this slide taken from the urinary bladder or ureter, urinary bladder lining by which type of epithelium? By transitional epithelium. The urinary bladder lining by which type of epithelium? By transitional epithelium. Stratified transitional epithelium consists of more than one layer of these cells.